All right, Chad, the first round, the top 16 of this tournament, we've got two very different teams, right? We know that every single team in this tournament in the top cut is running Emu, so we got both of those there, but the Emu matching up with Red Blue Ace. We've got Bello Betty, the one team with Bello Betty, going to be facing against Goldie Roger this round, and Green Zorro over on the red team facing up against Emu. Going to be a very interesting match, chat. Really curious, depending on, whatever the match that they choose as their feature one is. I think they're probably going to choose Bello Betty if I had to take a guess. Listen, if you're itching for a brand new playmat, now is the time to check out Nen Garden, the sponsor of this video. Not only do they have brand new pre-orders up on their website for Chaos Crew, Green Fury, and the Absolute Ruler designs, which by the way are phenomenal, but if you're a little indecisive or want a little bit of mystery in your life, check out their new promotion this month only for the Halloween Mystery Playmat sale. You not only get a random playmat at a discounted price, but on top of that, you get a free 10-card sleeve set alongside your order in this promotion. Plus, if you want a ton of other great accessories that aren't just playmats, they've got the King of Hearts t-shirt, matching pin, other pins alongside of it through the whole cake island, and even stickers. Make sure with whatever you want in Nen Garden, use my code Atrocious for 8% off. The link to their website is in the description below. Thank you so much for Nen Garden for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to that video. And so coming in here, chat, we do have Bello Betty. Bello Betty, one of the most aggressive decks in the One Piece trading card game, an absolute glass cannon, right? Can play out so many different small bodies, and with that leader ability of being able to plus power on your different bodies on the field, you can lose a lot of times or win before your 10 dawn turn. So it's going to be interesting to see how Bello Betty matches up in this game. Bello Betty going to be matching up against Goldie Roger. So Roger, one of the more hyped leaders heading into this set, right, in OP13 as the first 5 life 7,000 power leader, and honestly the first 7,000 power base leader in general, has one of the more unique leader effects, right, of especially in the beginning stages of the game. Every time you're adding Dawn for your Dawn phase, you have to attach one of those Dawn that you added to your leaders. So kind of makes it an odd curve in all in this matchup. So gonna be interesting to see how this goes. Haven't watched too much of this, but if I had to take a guess, I think it's going to be advantage to Bello Betty, right? Bello Betty just being able to really capitalize against slow setup decks like Roger, right? Roger just trying to set up into the late game. Bello Betty might not even give him enough time to be able to get to the late game. All right, looking at the Bello Betty's hand here, you've got that 6-drop blocker Koala, a lot of blocker Karasus. There are birds, and more birds in this hand. You've got 3 of the 3-drop blocker Karasus, 1 of the 4-drop Karasu. That 4-drop Karasu might actually be pretty impactful within this matchup, right, to knock Goldie Roger down a little bit on power. And this Roger in his hand having the 1-drop Shanks, right, a very nice searcher for this deck, has some scoopers, I believe his name is, those 6 drops there, and also that 3-drop, and also the Goldie Roger promo. So going to be some nice cards in there. That 3-drop being Douglas Bullet. Thank you so much for watching as well. And if you want to watch this yourself, in the description of the video, and also if you're in the live chat right now, the pinned messages on both Twitch and YouTube, you can find the official link to the live stream. I don't own any of this content. This is just my official commentary, but let's get into it. We've got the Betty going first and is just going to pass into it. No 1-drop searchers or anything like that. I'm going to move myself up here so then you guys don't see, or that you can see, the Goldie Roger's hand. And he's going to start out first with a search. Going to be searching off with that Shanks. Going to look for a card of the Roger Pirates. Has plenty of different options, right, including the Divine Departure 0 cost event. So is thinking about maybe either that or the Douglas Bullet. Already has a Douglas Bullet in hand, so is just going to do the Divine Departure, right? Is going to be nice to be able to get plus 3,000 on lead, especially for the aggressive turns that that Bello Betty swings a lot, but also can have a little bit of removal potential if you want. So does draw a Kuma off the top, and with the 5K swing, since Roger is still a 5K leader, Bello Betty is going to go ahead and get that first life play down Karasu. Now, Roger going into his 4 Dawn turn is going to go ahead and attach 1/2 leader because of his leader effect, right? Gaining Dawn on the turn as he had Dawn on the field. So is going to swing 6. Usually the early game, Goldie Roger is almost always going to swing 6. And we see a Blaze Slice actually in this. Bello Betty decided not to trigger that Blaze Slice, save it for later, right, with that addition of power and also potentially resting a body. And so what this Bello Betty now has the Revolution Army HQ stage. The Revolutionary Army HQ stage is a great card to be able to filter the hand, try to find your pieces for the coming turn. So definitely going to see Bello Betty play and utilize that. Is going to go ahead and go for it. Pitch the Blaze Slice, wanted to put that away, now revealing that to the opponent. Looks at that top 3, finds another Karasu and a Limburg in there alongside of Bello Betty. I think maybe Karasu might be one of your better choices, but goes for Bello Betty, maybe thinking about, instead of playing Karasu on this turn, go in with like a wider board of Bello Betty and that 3-drop blocker Karasu, right? Just to be able to get more and more bodies. Bello Betty going to start out swinging 5,000 power at lead. Bon Clay is going to be the counter out of that swing to go up to 6. And now tapping 1 for that Bello Betty on the search. A lot of cards that you're looking for right now is like 4-cost Ivankov, right? Be able to play out multiple bodies. And we see a couple cards in here that are pretty interesting, especially in OP13. We see the Lilith Searcher that was in the OP13 set for the Eggheads. Can't grab it because it's not Rev Army, but is a really nice card to be able to find cards with trigger on it, right? A nice searcher for that. So is really just thinking about a 2K Koala, right? This is the 2K Koala from OP05 that gives minus 3,000 power, but instead decides to grab Inazuma. Inazuma might be really, really good, right? To get another aggro rush body on the board to be able to once again just continuously apply pressure to the Roger opponent as they play another blocker Karasu. Has not used leader effect yet, right? To be able to swing with these different Karasu bodies, just have them up as blockers right now. Now the Roger going into his 7 Dawn turn. If I can do some quick math on Roger, or actually, yeah, 7 Dawn turn, attaches 1 2 leader because I think the Douglas Bullet, yeah, Douglas Bullet did ramp 1. Now swings 6,000 power, is going to go ahead on that swing. The thing about Roger, as he's always swinging 6, right? He's not at the 7 and he's always attaching that 1 Dawn 2 leader, but because of that 6, it's always forcing you to try to have a 2K as a 5 life leader. So ends up taking that life, no trigger. It looks like it was a Lilith, I believe. That Lilith having the activate the on play effect decided not to do it. And a Scooper McGavin is, or Scooper Gabon is going to come in. I'll get his name right eventually. Right on play, if your leader has the Roger Pirates type included, draw 2, trash 1 from your hand, and then ramp a Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested. So pretty much every card that Roger is going to play in this deck has some sort of on-play ability to ramp a Dawn to be able to get to that 10 very quickly, right? Because that's kind of your magic numbers. So does have to decide what he wants to pitch on this right here. He's thinking about either pitching the Roger or the Shanks. Is going to go ahead with the Roger, right? The Shanks, a little bit harder to find if you play another one of those 1-drop Searcher Shanks, right? Because Shanks can't grab Shanks, and the 10-drop Shanks does not have Roger Pirates typing. So typically a lot of these Rogers play multiple of the 10-drop Goldie Rogers. So you can probably find one again later in this game. So On the draw for turn now, Bello Betty going into their 7 Dawn turn does have that Ivankov in the hand that I was talking about earlier to be able to get another body on the board and fill out an entire 5. Is going to go ahead with that Revolutionary Army HQ stage to just do a little bit of filtering and do a little bit of top searching. Does find a Bello Betty searcher, right? Really prioritizing those searchers on the field, especially as the Goldie Roger is still a 5K leader, right? A leader effect, a single leader effect can get those Bello Betties to be able in the early game to swing at Roger. So Bello Betty looking like they're going to play this Koala down before potentially doing leader effect. And so is going to go ahead, take that life right there to be able to play another body out onto the field. It's going to be Ivankov. And usually with that Ivankov, right, we'll probably see a leader effect pop off on this Bello Betty to be able to boost some power and be able to play another body onto the field because of the Emporio Ivankov effect. Oh yeah, it's Scopper, isn't it? It's Scopper, yeah. And so is going to go ahead and boost 3 bodies, the Ivankov, Bello Betty, and that top Karasu up there. You see the dice that the official live stream is using to help the viewer base and their casters, including their unofficial casters like myself, be able to recognize where exactly everything is. So this Bello Betty, now swinging for 5,000 power, is going to have to command a card off of this swing, and so does get rid of the Douglas Bullet right here. Now utilizing the Ivankov effect, right, because Ivankov is over 7,000 power right now, is going to play out a 5,000 power or less character, Karasu, right, and now Karasu with the on-play effect, minusing 1,000 power on Roger. This 6,000 power swing is going to go at a 4,000 power Goldie Roger, and so he's going to end up taking that life, right? And I like this swing right here, another 7,000 power swing from this Karasu blocker over at the Goldie Roger as he's a 4,000 power leader, is going to quickly put him down to 2 and still have 2 blockers out on the field with that active Karasu and a Koala. So now moving into the Goldie Roger's turn, he is going to be at a full 10 Dawn, but still because he added Dawn from his Dawn deck onto the field, he is going to have to attach 1 2-liter. So only has 9 Dawn to work with, cannot play the 10 cost Shanks, but one of the cards that he does have in his hand is that 8 cost promo Roger, which I think is going to be very relevant coming into this turn. Starts out with the Douglas Bullet though, and because you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field, that Douglas Bullet actually swinging 6,000 power at that Karasu. A nice swing, right, to be able to get rid of these bodies that Bello Betty is going to produce, and it's going to stay that way, right, because that power boost is an ongoing effect, so you're going to see it on the defensive side. This 7,000 power swing from Scopper Gavin, I think Scooper is a funnier name, but I'll go with the Scopper, is going to go ahead and swing 7,000 power now at lead blocking and 2King with the Koala, right, to get up to 8,000 power. Now, this Goldie Roger has a little bit to think about, right? You've got to think about what exactly you want to... I think you almost always play the 8 cost Roger on this turn, right, to be able to get that power boost because you're at 10 Dawn, right? You become a huge leader, especially in the face of those 4-drop Karasu. So now Goldie Roger, a 9,000 power leader at this point. Definitely going to be a huge body, and swinging at that Koala is going to go ahead and block with that Karasu, pass off the turn, and we go back to Bello Betty. I think Bello Betty now going to be at 9, if I'm not mistaken, at this point, so still has plenty of Dawn to work with right now, still has some aggressive plays to make. I think because we've got like Inazuma for a little bit of rush. We got another Koala blocker if we want to decide to do that to get a little bit of extra defense in this coming turn. But utilizing the stage to start out, putting Morley away. Morley has that unblockable trait on him, right, which can be very effective, but I think it's best to just pitch that and try to maybe get some counter or something that can more help you on this turn. Finds in 4-cost Ivankov yet again, so is thinking about grabbing that card. Didn't want the Kuma there, that 2-drop Kuma, so puts the Ivankov in hand. Now the Bello Betty has to really decide on whether or not they want to go ahead and start playing some bodies first, or go in with some swings. And I think utilizing this Bello Betty right here, maybe trying to find a 4-cost Karasu, right? The 4-cost Karasu would be great to play off one of the Ivankovs. Did not find it on this search. Does have a 2K Koala, which I don't think you can be very mad at, right? Just getting a little bit more counter in the hand. But remember that Roger is a 9,000 power leader through this turn. So going to be very, very hard to swing with on this, right? Your 4-cost Karasu, thankfully, is more than likely going to make him an 8,000 power leader, but he doesn't need a lot of counter to be able to get out of a lot of these swings. So I think Goldie Roger actually sitting in a pretty decent spot right now. No blockers on the field, but especially now being at 7,000 power as a leader at the base, and the ability potentially to be able to play out these cards to give you extra power through your opponent's turn is going to be very, very good, right? He's got a fair amount of counter in hand, I will say, especially with that 1-cost event and also the Divine Departure. I don't think Bello Betty has used their leader effect yet, so could be thinking a little bit about what they want to play exactly. I think probably the Koala is very good to play here, right? Especially because you got to start thinking about the 10-cost Goldie Roger, right? If that 10-cost Goldie Roger comes on the field and you have no life, this game is going to be very difficult to be able to win and not die on the turn, especially staring at the face of a 10,000 power character in that 8-cost Goldie Roger. So is thinking about 2 Dawn right now. What would you be attaching? Is manually attaching to the Ivankov to be able to put out the Inazuma on the field. This is a really interesting play right here, right? You may be wondering why they didn't use leader effect on the Ivankov, but by attaching that Dawn to the Ivankov to get out the Inazuma, you can actually buff up the Inazuma to be able to get that rush right on the field, right? That extra power, because Karasu Ivankov fits that threshold for the Inazuma to gain rush, and now he's a 7,000 power swing himself, and you have a ton of Dawn to be able to go in and try to swing. The Ivankov is the only, well, actually Karasu and Ivankov are able to swing without attaching any Dawn right now, but is looking like they're battling a little bit of board now. So looks like swinging at the Douglas Bullet and minusing the Scopper Gabbin right there. So is going to get that knockout, 8,000 power swinging at 6, and now attaching 1 Dawn to the Inazuma is now swinging at the Scopper, I feel like. A 6,000 power character on the field, right? Minus 1,000 power by Karasu. So really testing out the hand, saying, you know what? I'm going to lose if I leave all these bodies on the board, so I'm going to start going in and swinging, controlling the board myself to be able to then blast you later, right, when you have nothing on the field. So is going to get that knockout right there, does not want to give up any cards at this point, especially because stuff like your 10-cost Shanks is a rush character, right? You're oftentimes going to be fine. You know, you've got abilities with the Silver Israeli, with the 10-cost Shanks, to be able to get the extra swings in on the field. And so now attaches 4 Dawn and swings 9,000 power at lead, matches the leader, ends up countering 1K out of that. And now this Ivankov with 3 Dawn attached and 3,000 power is, I think, an 11,000 power swing, if my math is correctly. And so is going to use that 1-cost event for plus 3,000 power on the leader. The let's go, or let's give it a go and kill each other if we're still alive is, I believe, the name of the event, or at least the translation of the event in English. So plus 3,000 power to the leader on the battle is going to go up to 12 to get out of that 11,000 power swing. Now Goldie Rogers sitting at this point has a full 10 Dawn, does not have to attach 1 to leader, does go back down to 7,000 power as a leader, but is going to go ahead and attach 1 and play 8. This is going to get the Silver's Rayleigh out onto the field, and with the Silver's Rayleigh, because you attach 1 Dawn to your leader, you're going to be able to rest a 5 cost or less on your opponent's side of the field, which is the Bello Betty. So I think now going in with these bodies swinging at these other bodies on the field, now going in Shanks into the Bello Betty, trying to see if you want to give up a card for this right now. A 2,000 on 2,000 power battle is still a critical part in the game, right? Do you use your free block? You could lose if you use your free block, actually, with the Koala. So do you want to use it then? But is trying to command another swing at potentially this Bello Betty, countering out of that, just saying, you know what? I need to try to maximize the amount of bodies on my field. If I can counter out of this now, it's going to be able to maximize my chances later to be able to go for a game. So the Silver's Rayleigh swinging at the Karasu and ending up letting that go. Now the 10,000 power Goldie Roger is going to take a knockout on the Ivankov, and now with the Roger swing, 8,000 power swing, the Koala and 2K1K going to be able to get out of, or was it 2K1K or 2K2K actually? Might have been 2K2K to get out of that swing there, especially with 1 Dawn open for that 1 cost event for another 3,000 power and the couple 2Ks in the Sanji and Buggy. It's going to be really tough to be able to go for game at this point, I think, for the Bello Betty, even though I think they have to. They actually pitched the Inazuma, and you know what? That kind of makes sense because you need to pitch a card anyway for your leader effect on Bello Betty, so you're actually not thinking about playing Inazuma at all right now. You're likely just going to be using the card in your hand to be able to use for leader effect, and you're just thinking about how these 4 swings can potentially go for game. And so is going to grab the 2K Koala right here. None of the games are finished yet, and remember, your team has to win 2 out of the 3 games in this matchup in this 3v3 tournament to be able to advance in the next round. So you play it as best you can and you try your best to give your teammates a win, especially because the Goldie Roger only had 1 search in that Shanks. It's very unknown how much counter is actually in the hand for the Goldie Roger right now. So Bello Betty pitching that card and going for it is going to start out swinging 9,000 power. Remember, Roger, only a 7,000 power leader at this point, is going to take 9,000 power to the dome right here. Could get out of it with just the 1 cost event, right? Would put him up to 10 and would be able to get out of that swing without revealing too much more of the counter. But I think he's going to play it as if trying to say to him, all right, go for it, and ends up getting some non-counters. So that's very nice for Bello Betty, but you need 2 of these swings to go through at this point. You only have 3 swings left. You need 2 of them to be able to do it. Your only out is to hope that they can't counter out of 2 of these swings. I think because your leader is 5,000, it's going to be very, very tough, right? Especially with only a searcher on the field with this other swing. And so with the 3 Dawn attached is going to now be a 10,000 power swing, slowly going up on increments right now. And still 7 Dawn to work with in this turn after this swing is completed. So taking this life, pretty confident, I think, especially with that 2K right there, that he is going to be able to get out of every single swing, right? The only thing that you're staring at right now is 2 Bello Bettys with 5,000 power. So ends up attaching the rest of the 7 Dawn with a 12,000 power swing. At leader is going to go with that 1 cost event to go up to 10,000, and with the divine departure is going to go up to 13,000 to get out of that swing. Goldie Roger now getting the turn. It's going to be his game right here, right? No cards in hand. Is going to get the first win of this match over to Goldie Roger. 7,000 power going in. No trigger, just a Lindbergh right there. No blocker or anything like that. And the swing going in for the win. But The team still needs to win one more game out of the 2 to be able to advance. So even though Bello Betty did lose, the team with Bello Betty could still be the team that advances within this tournament. If you're watching this after the fact, maybe you're not watching this on the live stream, that's going to be the first game, the first round of this tournament. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this not live, right, live chatters, you'll be like, what the heck is this guy talking about? I will be putting up the rest of the rounds on YouTube here very soon, right? It should be like 2 per day, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, and also on Sunday, if you're seeing this on Sunday, right, we are competing in the online regional, right, playing some Zoro Sanji, so please tune in for that if you see us live. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.